Hey, Venerable Sisters. It's Dawn Morningstar here with a special bonus episode of Venerable. I just know that with everything that's going on in the world right now, with the coronavirus and a lot of fear and confusion that is happening for people in their lives, I just thought maybe you would like to hear something a little bit uplifting and a little bit empowering. And so this is kind of on the fly here, just recording this on my phone in my living room with a very dear woman who has really changed my life in the short time that I've really experienced her work. Her name is Laurie Ellis-Young, and she has a nonprofit called Breath Logic, and it's really beautiful to increase breath literacy globally and locally. So first of all, welcome, Laurie.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
You can kind of think of this as our little public service announcement to help out with what's going on. And so first of all, let's start off by taking a breath. So just go ahead, everyone. Just take a breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Doesn't that feel good? So Laurie, why breath? How did you get so interested in breath and become what I think of as a breath expert? You might not think of yourself that way, but I do.
Well, when I was about 14, I discovered yoga a long time ago. And I first learned to coordinate my movements with my breath. And I think that was the first time that I really ever realized I was breathing, you know?
Yeah.
It's not something that we're taught about or we focus on. And then when I was 30, I trekked in Nepal for the first time. Wow. Went on a trek in the western part of Nepal. And that I fell in love with Nepal, with the mountains, with what happens when you trek. You have to be aware of your breath.
What is trekking for those who might not? Is it the same as hiking?
No, yeah, I went as high as I could go without having to have ropes or crampons.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So the highest I've gone is about 18,000 feet.
18,000 feet.
And you really learn about the power of breath. When you are trekking, you realize that breath is our life force, that breath is life, it's physical, but it's also mental, emotional, spiritual. It gives us stamina to move when we can't move.
Wow.
You know, and you learn about oxygen, the power of oxygen. So that's the most important nutrient that we take in to our bodies to power our brain, to power the cells, and that comes through our breath.
What a beautiful thing to think about. Breath or oxygen as a nutrient. I don't know that people generally think of it that way, right?
Probably not, but that's what I think of oxygen as, yes.
Yeah, so now I know that yesterday I went to Target to get my dog some dog food, and because of the coronavirus and people feeling that they're either self-quarantining or are staying in, I saw what I would describe as some fear, maybe, because there were people with their grocery carts filled to overflowing. And I was really kind of shocked to walk down some of the grocery aisles, and literally they were empty. Not one product on them. And it was as though there was some kind of a frenzy that had happened. And it's based on, I guess, fear of starving or fear of not having what we need, and maybe a way for people to feel like it's some control that they can have over a situation that feels out of control. So I know earlier you were mentioning this idea of physicality and how when we can look beyond just our physicality, how that can bring us a sense of peace, and maybe how breath ties in with that.
You know what you just said about control. I think that is so powerful. Things are out of our control right now. Yeah. And so when things are out of our control, we become fearful, and it's very stressful. And as a result, it's all brain science, basically, as we start to breathe more shallowly, or we hold our breath, we're breathing in our upper chest, and that exacerbates the fear and the stress and the result. I mean, we all know there have been tomes written about the negative effects of stress. Mm-hmm. So it's very important right now that we start taking control in the way that we can, which is of our breath. The breath is the only system in the body that is both voluntary and involuntary. Involuntary in that it's the most basic mechanism for survival,
right.
Which is, we're thinking a lot about survival right now.
Yes.
And so that will just happen. But that happens usually shallowly. We're breathing in our upper chest. It's shallow. And there's a wonderful doctor, Andrew Weil, who's known as a well-being guru, and he's been a proponent of breath for many decades, actually. And he says, if I could limit my advice on healthier living to just one tidbit of information, it would be learn how to breathe correctly. And this is something we need to do when we're in a state of stress, of anxiety. And I say 2 words: learn how to breathe low and slow.
Low and slow.
Right. So low is breathing in the belly. And one of the ways to do it is to laugh.
Okay, we can do that.
Right. I mean, this is taking what's happening with the coronavirus and everything seriously, but it's taking laughter seriously, that will help us to get our breath in our belly. It will move us from being in the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is not fight or flight, which is really what we're acting in, is a type of fight or flight. What do we do here? Or freeze. We're in our homes or whatever, is to move into rest and digest. And
rest
relax.
And digest. Okay.
And relax. What can we do? Mm-hmm. We cannot control this, but we can control the way we breathe to help us deal with this and be positive.
Yes.
To pause and just watch.
Positive. Well, yeah, in Venerable Women, we talk about taking peace pauses. And throughout the day, whenever we start to feel a little stressed out or confused, can't make a good decision or feel like we don't have clarity, is to really just stop what we're doing. And we can do this anywhere. And simply pause and focus on the breath, maybe not even controlling the breath in any way, but simply focusing on the breath in and out of the body and embracing peace and coming into that moment. Yes. And so those peace pauses are really very helpful. What else, Laurie Ellis-Young, can you tell us would be something that we could do? Like you mentioned laughter, which yes, 1,000 times yes. So does that mean like if we have Netflix or something or a funny friend, we should really engage in laughter? And I'd also want to say that's not being disrespectful to what's going on. Some people feel like, oh, this is sad, so I must be gloomy in order to honor this big, terrible thing that's going on. So what else, in addition to laughter and focusing on our breath low and slow, can you think of that we could do that would be helpful to us during this time?
Well, what you just said about the peace pauses, that is brilliant. And that is the master practice of mindfulness, is to bring your awareness inside to really feeling the physical movement of your breath. When you are feeling that, when you are knowing if you are inhaling or if you are exhaling, how many times do we really notice that?
We don't.
We aren't aware. And if we can make ourselves aware of that, we drop in and we notice that we aren't thinking. Our mind has some peace. We relax. And what happens then with this added benefit is that when you are feeling your breath, it just naturally deepens your breath. So it starts to move your breath lower and slower. So that right there, it's a master practice that has so many benefits. Another thing that I would say, though, is during these times, we're probably doing a lot of sighing.
Yeah.
You might notice yourself sighing or notice other people sighing. It's the natural wisdom of the body to release tension.
So a sigh is a good thing then, right?
A sigh is a great thing. Our body wants to do it to release tension. And so if you catch yourself holding your breath or feeling stressed out, is to
Let's do two more of those.
As long as you can. And then notice, though, after you do this, we'll do it again, what happens then to your next inhalation.
Okay,
so let's do
it
it together.
We'll do it together. Everyone, we're going to breathe together. We're inhaling right now.
Through the nose.
It's true.
And then you take a much deeper breath.
Yes. When I went to breathe in, it was much deeper than the time before.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So such a simple practice, but so powerful. And another thing I want to say about the sigh is that there are two types of sigh. There's that letting go.
Yes.
Releasing sigh that really helps to release tension. And then there's a sigh that you also do naturally after you're petting your dog or you have some chocolate or you have a massage or something that really makes you feel good. And your brain releases these wonderful endorphins into the bloodstream and it increases our well-being.
Yes.
So right there, so powerful, so simple.
And so simple, yes. And that's another thing that people have been concerned about, and rightfully so, is how good is my immune system, we might be thinking, right? Well, we know that the body, when it's in a state of well-being, has a much stronger immune system. So one of the things we can do to help our body have a stronger immune system is, you were talking about oxygenating the blood before. Yes. What else does breathing do that helps with that overall well-being of the immune system?
Well, again, it's when our immune system is compromised, which is one of the most insidious effects of stress, is when we are operating in sympathetic.
Got it.
Is when we're holding our breath, when we're breathing really shallowly or really quickly, and that's the fight or flight. And if we can consciously then make our breath low and slow, however you're going to do it, whether you want to laugh, whether you want to sigh, whether you just want to focus inside and feel that inhale or feel that exhale, that changes our nervous system to parasympathetic, to the rest and digest and relaxation. And so that right there is so powerful.
That's beautiful. Well, dear listeners, we hope that this has been helpful to you. I also want to mention that Laurie has a book coming out in the autumn of 2020, called Breathe the Change. Think of that. Breathe the change. You can breathe change in your own life. You can breathe change into the world. And so we are very, very grateful that you took a few moments to listen to this. So we affirm that you are well and happy, because that is within you to be able to claim wellness, well-being, and happiness and joy. Because the more of us who do that, we are literally raising the vibrational energy of our planet, and that helps everyone. And so thank you for listening. This has been the Venerable Podcast, Women's Sacred Conversations, and my guest is the amazing Laurie Ellis-Young. Thank you, sisters. We'll see you on the next podcast.